You're very confused. And you're a raging Democrat, so raging leftist with that kind of questioning. And I would say as a woman, like, you might want to think about how you view other women and how you treat other women, the way that you question them, because women are going to lead this country off the brink, and conservative women. The first female president of this country is going to be a conservative woman, not some liberal like you.
Okay, again, just a question about a bill.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, that was Republican Representative Nancy Mace, who is currently running for governor of South Carolina at a town hall event. And a reporter asked her to clarify something on her voting record as a congresswoman. And Mace responded by attacking the interviewer, calling her a raging Democrat and a raging leftist, and telling her to read the Constitution. So here is more of what set her off.
I noticed that there's one of the accomplishments, things you were touting was the I-526 interchange.
What was the exit at Long Point Road?
Yes.
Not the interchange, but yeah.
But that funding came from the Inflation Reduction Act, which you voted against.
Right.
Is that an accomplishment then? Is that something you can tout?
No, absolutely. I mean, absolutely I can tout that, because we'll often argue over how much money is spent, how much money is wasted, and the vast majority of the funding in that bill was completely wasted, particularly in the infrastructure bill that was $1.2 trillion. We only had $110 billion dedicated to roads and bridges in that particular bill. Of that $110 billion, only $70 billion was for public transit, leaving only like $40 billion for roads and bridges across every state in the country, which is outrageous, right? In South Carolina, in the infrastructure bill, only got an extra $1 billion over a 5-year period. So we fight over how we spend the money, how we appropriate it. But once the appropriations happen, I'm going to make sure that South Carolina, that we get our fair share, because that money's getting spent, and our tax dollars in South Carolina are equal to anybody else's in California, New York, Tennessee, anywhere else, North Carolina. We deserve that too. So just because we disagree on how the money's spent means we shouldn't get money for our roads and bridges. Isn't that kind of hypocritical? That's ironic.
So when the reporter continued to press Nancy Mace for clarification, specifically on whether or not she's taking credit for something that she tried to block, Nancy Mace started to get more visibly irate.
I'm more asking, so you do agree then if you think it's okay for politicians who don't vote for them
federal government,
take credit for...
It's literally our job to make sure that our states get the appropriations that they need when the money is assigned.
But even when you vote against
in grant funding.
Anybody, even when they vote against it.
I vote against almost every spending bill I've ever had before me because of the wasteful spending. This government has spent money on transgender surgeries for kids. It spent money on putting men in women's prisons. We've spent over $26 million at the NIH to castrate mice and test them on a date rape drug. So I, of course, would vote against a bill that did something outrageous like that. But when there's money being appropriated by the federal government, it is literally our job to make sure that we help organizations, government entities, state and local, get those appropriations by supporting them with letters of support. And that's what my office says. That's literally part of the job of being a member of Congress. So maybe you're confused.
And it was at that point that Mace attacked the reporter directly, telling her, among other things, that she should be better to women. Maz, I'll start with you on this one. I feel like she should have stopped after the part where she was saying, this is the job of a congressperson. Sometimes these votes are not as obvious or as clear or as distinct as they seem on the surface. She could have worked with that angle, but then she just turned on the reporter just for asking. For pointing out, first of all, that she was taking credit for something that maybe she shouldn't be. And then saying you need to read the Constitution. You're a raging radical Democrat leftist. What do you think?
Well, that's because she knew she was wrong. She knows that she's taking credit for something she voted against. She was doing a lot of whataboutisms in there, where it's the money was being misspent on mice. So I never vote yes. I vote no on a lot of spending bills. That's a great way to be a member of Congress. Just vote no on everything. And if it doesn't go, then it doesn't go. And if it goes, then you just take credit. That's what she just did. She voted no against the infrastructure bill and took credit. And she's not the only one, by the way. There was other people, I believe it was Senator Kennedy of Louisiana, a few of the others who were all hey, look at what we did for our state. You're dude, you voted against it. And it's fun to watch her spiral. Like, it's fun to watch her get worked up. And by the end, it sounds like somebody whose boyfriend just broke up with them, and she's trying to turn it around and be like, one day you'll see. One day you'll see that I was the right best woman you could ever get. Like, that's kind of where she went to. So she's very immature. She's a huge, on fire hypocrite. I mean, if nothing else, just be like, yo, you know what? You're right. I didn't vote for it because of A, B, C, and D. But now that it's been passed, I'm out there, making sure that the money is spent the right way. Let's take credit like that. But as we all know, she's there among supporters, and she's just, taking credit for things that she shouldn't take credit for, which is, by the way, comes from the top down. That's what Donald Trump does all the time. In 2024, when Donald Trump was not president and the stock market went up, he took credit for it and said it went up today because they know I'm going to win the election. And then in 2025, when the stock market crashed after his tariffs, he put the blame on Joe Biden. So they do this all from top down, and Nancy Mace is just another hypocrite.
Yeah. Actually, I thought she answered the question in the beginning in as good a way as I've seen a Republican squirm out of it, right? Because Maz is right. There's at least half a dozen Republicans who are like, oh, I got you this bill here and this wonderful spending. Like, you voted against it. They're like, yeah, but I'm gonna pretend anyway, right? But she said, look, I voted against it. I'm proud I voted against it. But once it's passed, I fought for appropriations within my district. That's as good an answer as you can have if you're on the wrong side of this issue, right? And then the reporter asked 3-4 times. Okay, so if you left it right there, that's not so bad for Nancy Mace, right? But she can't help herself. So she says that the reporter's a Democrat for asking a very legitimate question, and then adds on top that she's anti-women. Like, what does that have to do with anything? And the reality is, as Nancy Mace herself once said, she's Trump in high heels, right? So what she means by that is, I don't care if it's right or wrong. I'm just gonna grab the attention no matter what, okay? And I'm gonna say outrageous things that I know you'll quote, so you can't help yourself. And she's right, here we are, talking about how she said this incredibly stupid thing to a female reporter. By the way, here's what Democrats are getting wrong in this modern day of politics. So do Democrats do some form of this? They do in their own way, not the hypocrisy on the voting itself, but attacking people that are critical of Democrats. They won't just blurt it out like Nancy Mace does. What they'll do is they'll do hit jobs, and it'll be usually against other Democrats, progressives. So Nina Turner will say something critical of Joe Biden from the left, and then they'll go into the press and talk about how she's supporting Donald Trump. No, she's not. That's not true at all. She says something way worse about Donald Trump. It doesn't matter. No, the right winger. How dare you criticize a Democrat? You're not for unity. And then Mamdani wins, and they're like, screw unity. We hate unity, right? Okay, so, but they do it in what was considered a more sophisticated way. But nowadays, all sophistication is gone, man. And Nancy Mace, unfortunately, is wrong as she is on the issues and what she's saying. Strategically, in terms of politics, unfortunately, guys, she's right. That gets her in the news more. She's running for governor now. In fact, I didn't even realize she was running for governor until she got in the news again, right? And so that's how she's spreading the word. And when she's trying to appeal to her base in the primary, they're gonna like a woman telling another woman that she's anti-woman for asking a question of her, right? So I don't like it, but that probably will work for her in the primary. So unfortunately, that's the sad state of American politics today. All right, we gotta go. We are so past time. Okay, but in the bonus episode, what we're gonna do, guys, is one, we've got that guy who's almost literally a crusader that we've sent into Gaza to terrorize Palestinians there as if they weren't hurting enough. And then Fox News' obsession with Sydney Sweeney. That is a hilarious story. So hit the join button below or go to tyt.com/join to become a member, and we'll see you there. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.